I think this is one of the panels. It's so exciting. I've been honestly dreaming about it since quite a few days since we've started planning. So I hope it really is what they do, everyone. To start off, as I said, we've titled the panel Bringing the World on Chain. That's truly something Ava Labs has been doing for years now. Such an important part of the ecosystem, and you'll know why. With everything that we're going to discuss, I think that is something that is going to get so clear. To start off with, I'd love to introduce our panelists. Dr. Sirer, to start with. Dr. Emin Gün Sirer is a blockchain visionary. He leads Ava Labs, the team behind Avalanche. He created Avalanche Consensus, achieving sub-second finality while slashing energy use. The protocol verifies networks efficiently without performance loss or heavy power draw. At Cornell, he's a Cornellian, at Cornell, he launched Avalanche with Maofan Yin and Kevin Seknicki earlier. And earlier he proposed Karma. Can you guys guess when that was? Before Bitcoin, is it? That was 2003. It was a digital currency in 2003. People have come to know of Bitcoin. It has started in 2009. So I'm pretty much sure that you understand now what the panel is and how the panel is going to be. Dr. Sirer, his research spans peer-to-peer systems, operating systems, and computer networking. He holds a PhD in computer science from the University of Washington and previously worked at AT&T, Bell Labs, and DEC SRC. Thank you so much for joining us on the panel, Dr. Gün.
Thank you for having me. I'm not sure if this thing is working.
I'll just check it. Yeah, it's
perfect. Thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be here, and I guess you're going to introduce John.
Yes.
I'll wait until after.
Sure. So John Wu. John Wu is the president at Ava Labs. It's an A16Z-backed team behind Avalanche. Across 20 years in fintech investing, he ran SharesPost Digital Assets and founded Blackstone-backed SureView Capital after roles at Tiger Management and Kingdom Capital. Wu holds an MBA from Harvard and a BS in economics from Cornell, another Cornellian. He views Web3 as a spirit of open innovation and is using it to open finance to everyone. Thank you so much for joining the panel, John.
So I just want to say a few words. Let's see, we were just reminiscing about the earliest days of the Cornell Blockchain Club, the people who are organizing this event. And I remember the very first meeting that led to the formation of that group. And I was the faculty advisor, the first one. John Wu was the first external advisor to the Cornell Blockchain Club. And since that day, the club has grown immensely. And as soon as we created it, it attracted a lot of interest from across the campus in Ithaca. And now it has diverged and diversified and come here. It's wonderful to see this level of interest. So before we get started, could we get a show of hands for the people who are organizing this, please?
Thank you so much. This really did give goosebumps to hear about the journey and then to see what it has come to be. This is the 5th year we are doing the conference. You must have heard about it in the opening remarks, and it is amazing. We're growing year on year. Pretty sure most of you would also be here next year as well. And we just want to continue with it with support from Ava Labs and so many other sponsors and supporters. Thank you so much for supporting us year on year. Great. To start things off, again, to bringing the world on chain. So to start things off, I would love to start off with a set of questions. The first one to Dr. Sirer, you. So when you think about bringing the world on chain, what does that practically mean to you at Ava Labs over years, right? What use cases are truly moving the needle today?
Sure. So look, the promise of blockchains was clear with the very first application with Bitcoin. Bitcoin showed the world that you could create networks of great value with no one in charge. And it showed the world how easy it was for assets to traverse across national boundaries, across the globe, quickly. Maybe not as quickly as they could have, but in an hour or so, they could go from one side of the globe to another with no intermediaries. And systems could remain up for years on end without a single person in charge, without a single person with a pager, without the ginormous teams that you are you're typically used to from the likes of Facebook, Google, and so on. So Bitcoin has none of that infrastructure, and yet it's resilient. It's a Byzantine fault-tolerant system that is able to keep itself up. So that was the promise that gave us the initial vision. But there is so much more that was necessary. The biggest impediments on that path were technological. We did not know how to build blockchains that scaled. And one of the first things that we did at Ava Labs was build the world's fastest consensus protocol. So a group of nodes operating in unison should be able to take action together as fast as possible at the speed of light. And that was the initial technology we developed. The second biggest move from us, from in fact anybody on this space, and we were the first ones to show this, was how to build networks of networks. We were one of the biggest proponents of building, of actually the following thesis, which is every single use case deserves its own chain. Some might be able to share, but most use cases have unique demands, and for that they need a chain that operates according to their own rule sets, according to their own technological specifications, and according to their own failure isolation needs. Your success as an application should not impede my success as an independent application. Because you're doing an NFT mint, none of my users should have to pay high fees. A municipality putting its parking meters on a chain should not have to get affected by other people doing other activities on chain. So these two pillars formed the foundation of everything that we developed at Avalanche. There is more to come. The next thing for us now is to push this technology because it is now at the point where it can take on demanding use cases. What are some? There are many. One of the most demanding ones is computer gaming. And there, Avalanche is at the forefront. We have Gunzilla. I don't know if any of you played. How many OTG players are there here? Anyone played Off the Grid yet? It's an amazing game. If you haven't played it, open up your PlayStation. It's fantastic. You won't even know. It's set in the future where people don't have arms, legs, etc. Those are all things you acquire in the game. And every single one of them is an NFT. You don't know this, but behind the scenes, there's an Avalanche NFT transaction that's taking place as you kill someone and steal their arms, legs, armor, guns, and so on. It's really, really, really cool. And that level of interaction with the chain has technological requirements that is equal by none. You can't do this on Ethereum. You just can't. It's a non-starter. You can't do it even on Solana. If that game is successful, if it were on Solana, if it could be, if it were successful, it would impede all other games from being successful. It's only on Avalanche that that's possible. So that's one, and there are many, many, many others. I'll turn it over to John to talk about the other use cases.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't emphasize Gun's vision of that network of networks more than enough, basically. That's what allows almost any industry, any vertical to come and deploy. It's basically a bespoke, purpose-built blockchain, but you're part of the Avalanche network. And, we talked about gaming. Besides Gunzilla, which is a AAA published game, you also have Nexon, which is a publicly traded company in Asia, MapleStory, over 200 million users. They're going to create a blockchain-enabled version on top of Avalanche. You also have loyalty and royalty. So Cleveland Cavaliers and their loyalty and royalty program will be on Avalanche. You also have Sports Illustrated, the new stadium. It used to be called Red Bull Stadium. It's going to be called Sports Illustrated. They're doing their loyalty, royalty, and ticketing on Avalanche as well. And we cannot forget, part of the reason why Gun decided to have this in New York and why I am so passionate about this place is because we are going to help rewire the entire financial services industry. There's a reason why we're in New York. We're here because this is the capital of the world for the markets. And we believe that this is ultimately the internet of value, and the network of networks of Avalanche is the place to do it on.
And I think those are such great use cases. And as you said, that there's a reason you guys are here in New York and here. And as we started off this conference saying that there's a reason this is happening at Cornell Tech, where they have been, they've been based here. We have been doing this for so long. So it all makes sense to make that engine for that, that development that the blockchain is looking to have here, right, from now on. So thank you, Dr. Sirer. Thank you, John. Moving on, largely to start with, John, regulatory clarity in the US, it's a moving target, right? So how is Ava Labs navigating that to still drive innovation and adoption domestically? Because I know that you've been very careful that, okay, we are 100%, that what regulatory says, that's what we are going to do. So how do you navigate
What's made us really successful is we were huge risk takers in the technology, but we were very conservative with regulation and compliance. So in a weird way, now that standards and regulation are probably going to happen this year with Stablecoin Act or the market structure or both, we're one of the places that's best positioned, I would say, for the new standards of the world, because we've been basically adhering to as much of that as possible. I was just in DC. I met with 15 different senators and representatives. I was actually physically there when Representative Stile introduced the Stablecoin Act to Congress, and I can tell you the administration has pushed a lot of urgency into the legislator and the whole Congress to actually get something done. I fully anticipate a stablecoin legislation or both market structure by the end of the year, if not by the end of the summer.
I want to add a couple of words to this. So I don't know if this audience recognizes how unusual it is to have some founders who are located in New York City. So there are really three kinds of startup founders and three kinds of startups. There are those centered in Silicon Valley. These people typically have a one-trick tech pony. They have a cute little technological trick, and they think with that trick they can solve some issue or another. They don't realize how wide these projects are. They're not just technological, they're economical, they're social, they're political. They go beyond just the things that technologists are used to. So those things typically never pan out. I'm not going to name names, but you know all the names. We started out at the same time, or they started out at the same time as us, and they're nowhere to be found anymore. But that's the Silicon Valley take. There's a bunch of founders that are either overseas or in a tax-free jurisdiction, right? So hello to Austin people from here. And these people are typically out there to sell their tokens and disappear. They're in a tax-free jurisdiction for a reason. We started Ava Labs in Ithaca, New York, and then we came down to here, the most regulated place on earth. We're proud to be here. We're proud to be an American operation. We're proud to be over here because we believe that we are going to be the tech leaders and the entire rail providers for the changing world. We couldn't have imagined moving overseas. That would be anathema to us. And those 4 years of regulatory lack of clarity was absolutely horrible because it went counter to what we felt in our bones, that technological innovation must take place in the US. We must lead the world in bringing blockchain technologies to every aspect of our lives.
I mean, I agree to that and I'm pretty sure that would have been an impediment to a lot of things you would have tried doing. So from personal experience, I was running a startup in India, 5 years, so much regulation, to be honest. There were so many times that we were very close to probably moving to Dubai, which is many startups have done, not just from India, all over the world, right? So I'm pretty sure that there were impediments, but now that things are turning up to be so good, right? That's where I guess that positions Ava Labs at the right moment because you went through all of that. You didn't get shut down. Neither did you, go just another way to overlook regulatory requirements, right? So
that's right. It was a lot harder, but we worked harder. And then, we are best positioned, I think, going forward because we've already been compliant. And although we were forced to work harder, if you look at any metric, transactions, daily active users, addresses, if you look at it year over year, every single one of those are up either 150% or 300% year over year. Transactions are up 300% year over year, and we have a whole bunch of other network of networks that are going to go live, and that's going to continue to grow at that rate.
Those are so good numbers to be able to share finally, right? Moving on to this clarity. Talking about Vista, right? With Avalanche Vista and tokenized assets gaining steam, how close are we to average users holding tokenized real-world assets in their everyday wallets?
So I'm going to give you a very interesting take on this. It's very close and very far at the same time. Because with every emerging technology, it seems like it's an overnight success after 10 years of making it. So there have been 4 barriers for real adoption, especially in the, call it, real-world asset side. Technology, call it regulation, educational awareness of these things, and probably like acceptance socially. So I think technology, we've been doing proof of concepts and actual live things where asset managers like KKR and Apollo tokenize the private credit fund there, BlackRock with BITO. In terms of proof of concepts, you were talking about Vista, Spruce, or other things where we did work with Citi. There's Citi representatives here in the audience, Wellington, T. Rowe. We've worked with JP Morgan, the banks. So from a technology perspective, we're well past that. They understand the technology. They look at everything in a risk lens, so to speak. So their fear of the technology from a risk lens is basically alleviated. They're still worried about regulation. Socially, people are more aware of it. So really, as soon as these standards are ready, I think there's going to be an explosion, and it's going to be seeming like an overnight thing, but it's been a long time working.
Would you like to say a bit about Avalanche Vista, what the entire vision is behind it?
Yeah. I mean, Gun has always believed we're going to tokenize the world's assets. That includes on-chain and off-chain. Vista, and also there's another program, Spruce, is not just like creating a right of ownership of a digital asset, okay? Vista is also going to be able to put these real-world assets, tokenized version of it, into collateral pools and let it move around the entire crypto ecosystem. And that's what Spruce is, that's what Vista ultimately will be also. So these are, proof of concepts / programs that are getting the real world assets on chain, on Avalanche, in order to set it up like a DeFi pool that you are all familiar with who are in, the ecosystem.
Thanks for that. So Dr. Sirer, many people still don't know that they're using blockchain, right? So even when they are at the back end, they are. Do you think the future of on-chain UX is invisible? Should it be that way?
Absolutely. So there are a lot of impediments that we needed to overcome when it comes to technological adoption of blockchains. The very first one was scaling. Those scaling debates, you don't hear of them anymore because people are now recognizing that the Avalanche architecture and the consensus protocol are as far as, as we know how to push it technologically. They were big breakthroughs. And but now there are many other impediments, a few other impediments that remain. The front end to blockchains is one of the next frontiers. Think of the blockchain wars of the years past as the OS wars of 2 decades ago. So that's happening. It's still playing itself out. And now there's the browser wars to come. The wallets, the things that we know as wallets, are essentially the browser equivalents. And if you think about how terrible the current wallets are, how they expose everybody to hexadecimal addresses, to bizarre incantations that they have to mutter just to be able to get their money to move from one location to another, the different dApps that they have to interact with, and how non-uniform those interfaces are. These are not things that I could trust to a non-techie. And even when I use them, my blood pressure rises up and I kind of panic a little bit. I don't know how many of you this resonates with, but I think many of you will recognize that sort of that anxiety that comes from having to open up your ledger. Those all have to go away. We need better things in place. I worked on some of these things when I was at Cornell. I worked on the security of funds at rest, something that is currently finding its way to some wallets. Maybe 10 years later, when we wrote that paper, we thought, oh, it's a good idea. The adoption should be overnight. It's been 12 years, I think, since the initial ideas on covenants. You hear Bitcoin covenants becoming a thing these days. I was one of the 3 co-authors on that paper about a decade ago. So there's a lot more to come. It's slower, even in this fast-moving field. Adoption is slow. But I do think that there is an entirely new approach that's called for. One of the new initiatives that I announced, I think I announced it, no, I didn't announce it here. I announced it at the Avalanche Summit, to which all of you are welcome to attend, of course, and then shortly afterwards I gave a talk here 2 years ago on something that we call coin-operated agents, essentially blockchains that are powered by validators that have AI engines in them, large language models in them. And there, the blockchains are replaced. The virtual machines go away, all of that hexadecimal crap goes away, and it's replaced by natural language. So when you want to transfer money, you say, I hereby transfer money to, whoever. Or you can say something like, I now start a service, a lending service, that holds two pools of money for coins of type A and coins of type B. And you can, you can trade one for the other according to the following circumstances. And then you describe your lending service as you would if you were a lawyer, or as you would if you were a founder specifying what you want done. And then the AI agent interprets your interactions. Or you can write simple statements like, I hereby give you a check for your new movie, $5,000, let's say, assuming you can raise 5 million, but if you can't raise it, I want my money back. Right? So you can just specify this in English, or Tagalog, or whichever language you happen to speak, and it happens on-chain. So it wasn't ready 2 years ago, of course, but this is the vision that we're converging towards. This is one of the technological pushes that we have under the Ava Labs umbrella.
I'm fully confident that Gun and the tech team at Ava Labs can solve the UX problem at the very, consumer and the higher layer. One of the challenges to making this all work seamlessly, though, is that in this room, in this world, we're very focused on wallet-based stuff and self-custody. In the traditional world, everything is account-based. So if you own Apple stock, that's one account. If you own money, if you have money at JP Morgan, that's a different account. How do you integrate all those accounts and make it seamless, as opposed to the wallet world where we're in here, everything is in one place. So it's really, the technologists in the space like Gun already has a vision, can do it. And now it's, frankly, not even the B2C, it's the B2B people who have to socially think of the world, maybe not just in an account-based format, but in a wallet-based format.
Thank you. Just a quick check. When is that summit? Is that May 1920?
Yes,
What's that?
May 20 in London. It's coming up soon.
Yeah. So it would be great. So everyone here, please do plan on attending that. Thanks for sharing that. Dr. Gun, you've worked with JP Morgan, as you mentioned, right? JP Morgan, Citigroup, T. Rowe Price. What are the biggest frictions today for institutions like them looking to come on-chain, and how is Avalanche exactly reducing them? I know you've touched upon that a bit earlier.
Well, because Avalanche is a network of networks, you can have your bespoke, purpose-built blockchain. Especially with regulated entities like JP Morgan, et cetera, they have to have a very permissioned blockchain, at least for now. And they have to have that comfort, both on the network level as well as the smart contract level, that they're letting people into the network appropriately, and the KYC AML for individual users. So the fact that, literally, I don't know if any other chains can really do this, that's one of the reasons why all of these Wall Street firms are working closely with us, because we can keep them compliant.
Do you want to add to that? Yeah, okay. So, if you're sitting here 5 years from now, to both of you actually, what would have to happen for you to say we truly brought the world on chain? What can you envision?
Start?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay. So first of all, I think it's fantastic that there's so much awareness of the space now. When I first met Gun in either 16 or 17, 2000, the world wasn't aware of anything. And I think the world is aware as an asset class. So it's fantastic, but that means most people are just investors or traders. What I want to see 5 years from now is on-chain activity. And one of our goals is to get traditional people, when you go up the adoption curve, to actually deploy and do things on-chain, not just hold an ETF in a brokerage account somewhere and be a passive, participant. So I do think 5 years from now, we're going to get to that place with the help of ourselves and other players in the space, where people up the adoption curve, not the early adopters, are going to literally do things on-chain and participate in a whole different way that will blow everyone's mind. And it will be abstracted away, like Gun said.
Dr. Gun, as you answer that, can you connect it back to what you've seen over 20 years, right? And
sure.
Connect back to that.
Yeah. Let me try and connect it back to sort of what we saw when we saw the internet rise. Now, there's a huge difference between what happened on the internet and what happened in blockchains. If the internet had been prohibited because of regulatory concerns, or if the telecoms companies had been held liable for every bit that they carried, there were safe harbor provisions. So if you're a telecom company, somebody uses your network for something nefarious, you cannot be held liable. That is one of the keystones that allowed the internet revolution to take place. And kudos to the politicians of that day for recognizing how big the internet was going to become and for creating the right regulatory framework. We can't say this, I can't say the same thing for what happened in blockchains. If the internet had not had those, that protection, the internet would be used solely for pictures and maybe for porn, right? That would have been it. And none of the societal things that we rely on, I rely on everything, on the internet for everything I do. None of our modern lives would have taken place online. We would not be here. So where we are now is directly a result of that waffling around, of sort of being unsure about this emerging technology. That regulatory clarity cannot come soon enough. Now, back when we were starting out, a lot of people would come up to me and say, hey, don't you think it's time for stocks to be traded online, on the blockchain? Don't you think it's time for financial assets to be traded on-chain? And to them, we always said the same thing. Those assets will be the last things that are traded on blockchains because they already have a bunch of different markets and a bunch of different people who have established a political stronghold that will prohibit everybody else from taking those things online. So instead, what you do see are the alternative assets and the sort of the things that don't really offend anyone. NFTs, you want to put up a picture of an ape, buy it and sell it. It's amazing that those economies can be so big because after all, those things are really useless little doodads. So if that can happen there, imagine where we can go with the right kind of regulatory help. And it's going to be an immense success for sure. And these traditional things you should not expect to have happen next. They will be the last things that happen. And from here, what we will see are less and less institutions on the fringe, sort of working towards the core. And maybe 5 to 10 years from now, we might actually see stocks, bonds, and other existing financial products on blockchains. And but it will be a hockey stick curve. And it's very, very important to get the regulatory framework right so that we can actually see the fruits of all of that labor.
Thank you so much for that. So I guess that's what we can envision for the next 5 years or after 5 years, looking back in real world assets and all kinds of assets getting on chain, you know, the world truly moving on chain and all of that we discussed that, you know, the UX is not in front of you, it's at the back end. You don't even realize that, you know, you're using it, probably led by players like Ava. So quick check on time. I know we are low on time, but 2 very focused questions on the public here, which is students, right? The people, you know, the kind of audience you've been supporting for years. There are 2 questions. One is you run a university program. You're going really aggressive in terms of involving universities around the world. I know people from your team have been working hard at it. Would you like to share a bit about that with with the audience, how they can be a part of it, or what should they look forward to? Yeah.
Well, I'll start, and then I'll let Gun. Gun was a professor at Cornell, and we're very proud to say that we're very supportive of this effort. And we've had probably, 60 plus Cornellians come through our doors, but we're also very active with other blockchain clubs around. Very active with MIT, Stanford, Berkeley, just another one that we've participated a lot. We really love the fact that there are a lot of new, fresh talent, not jaded, with experience, who want to enter the space and help make a difference. And we have a big effort in summer internship, as well as with sponsorships with all of these universities to continue to push great minds into the space.
So yeah, as a one-time professor, I always say once a grad student, always a grad student. So I really feel like a grad student, right? But as a former professor, the only metric I track is the influx of new and energetic minds into the space. That's the only thing that matters. It's wonderful to see such a lively audience today, and I cannot wait to see what we can do together. We have a lot of outreach to various different universities, so tell your friends at universities across the globe that they can get involved with us. We have an intern program at Ava Labs, admittedly, relatively small. We have a program called Codebase, which is sort of like a virtual Y Combinator type startup foundry. So if you want to get involved, there's a small physical component where you meet other founders, but then you can have your startup as part of that thing remotely, and then you get to pitch to VCs. We have a myriad other programs that I don't remember right now. There's hackathons that we hold. We have hacker houses every now and then in different places. So we are doing what we can to essentially take this technology to the public to make it accessible to as many people as possible. So if you're interested, we'd love to help you. And as a former professor, we have a whole engine that we've built at Ava Labs for helping people achieve their dreams on the blockchain.
Thank you so much. You did mention the schools in US, so you might have friends there as well. Many of you are in attendance today. By the way, great statistics. We had more than 1,500 registrations, ticket sales for this conference, the biggest we've ever done. And as a fact, almost 70-75% were students from all around New York, some outside as well. You know, they were able to come. We're so grateful. And beyond that, in your university program, I for a fact know that you are trying to do things in India as well. And that is amazing, right? Just last quick closing question. Again, student focused, everyone here in the room. What can they do if many of them, I received responses that I'm not into blockchain, right? Is this conference going to help me? Are the speakers going to be very technical? I'm pretty sure you've already gotten that answer that, you know, we've made sure that it is not, right? It is for everyone. But still they were like, if I'm not into blockchain, how do I get into it? Is this conference going to help us get into it? And this is a question we've asked almost every other panel. So anything on that? How can they get into it?
I think the answer speaks for itself. I think it is very helpful. And you can you can be a technical person and get a lot out of this conference, but you can also be an industry expert, because going forward, a lot of the things that are being developed on chain will require not just technical expertise, but also domain expertise, and that is happening more and more. But for the students in particular, as Gun mentioned, you can go to the Ava Labs, labs.org website, and you can find some of the code-based programs, the hackathons and the hacker houses, and those are places where effectively you're getting access to Y Combinator-like accelerator type situations, which allows anyone to participate if you want to work hard.
Thank you so much. That was the end of the panel. I know we're over time. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Dr. Sirer. Thank you, John. Thanks a lot.